Why people need to be right. Most people believe they want the truth, but if that were completely true, changing your mind would be easy. Admitting mistakes would be easy. Letting go of old beliefs would be easy. Yet people often do the opposite. They defend ideas that are not working, argue with evidence, and continue believing things that reality has already challenged. Sometimes they spend years protecting an opinion long after it has stopped helping them. The strange part is that this behavior is not limited to a few stubborn people. Almost everyone does it. Intelligent people do it. Successful people do it. Self-aware people do it. The need to be right is one of the strongest forces in human psychology because being wrong rarely feels like a simple mistake. It feels personal. It feels uncomfortable. It feels threatening. The moment a belief becomes connected to identity, admitting you were wrong can feel like losing a piece of yourself. That is why people often defend certainty more aggressively than they defend truth. Being right feels safe. Human beings naturally seek certainty. We want the world to make sense. We want our decisions to feel justified. We want our understanding to feel reliable. When people believe they are right, they experience a sense of stability. Their choices feel validated, their perspective feels secure. Everything appears easier to navigate because they believe they understand what is happening. The problem is that certainty can become emotionally addictive. Once people become attached to feeling right, they start protecting that feeling. Questions become uncomfortable because questions create doubt. New information becomes threatening because it introduces uncertainty. Over time, the goal quietly changes. Instead of asking what is true, people start defending what already feels familiar. The desire for certainty becomes stronger than the desire for accuracy. People attach beliefs to their identity. A belief begins as an idea, but it rarely stays that way. Over time, people start connecting beliefs to their identity. Their opinions become part of how they see themselves. Their worldview becomes part of their self-image. Once that happens, disagreement no longer feels like a disagreement about information. It feels like a disagreement about who they are. This is why some conversations become surprisingly emotional. The reaction is often not about the topic itself. It is about self-protection. If someone has spent years identifying with a particular belief, admitting they were wrong can feel like admitting there is something wrong with them. The stronger the attachment becomes, the harder it becomes to change. People stop defending ideas because the ideas are true and start defending them because those ideas have become part of their identity. The ego protects consistency. Most people think the ego is about arrogance. In reality, the ego is often about protection. It wants stability. It wants consistency. It wants to avoid emotional discomfort. Being wrong threatens all three. The moment someone realizes they may have misunderstood something, uncertainty enters the picture. Suddenly, the answer is no longer clear. The decision no longer feels justified. The belief no longer feels secure. That discomfort creates resistance. The mind immediately starts searching for explanations that preserve the existing belief. It looks for supporting evidence, dismisses contradictory information, and creates reasons to maintain the current position. This process often happens automatically. People genuinely believe they are being objective while their mind quietly works to protect them from the discomfort of uncertainty. People defend their past investments. One reason people struggle to admit they are wrong is because being wrong often feels expensive. The longer someone has invested in a belief, a decision, or a way of thinking, the harder it becomes to let go of it. The issue is no longer the belief itself. The issue becomes everything attached to it. If this belief is wrong, what does that say about all the time I spent defending it? What does it say about the decisions I made because of it? What does it say about the years I invested in it? Suddenly admitting the truth feels costly. People become trapped defending the past because confronting reality forces them to confront what they may have lost. Unfortunately, avoiding reality rarely reduces the cost. It usually increases it. Being wrong is part of learning. One of the biggest misconceptions people have about growth is believing that being wrong is evidence of failure. In reality, being wrong is often evidence that learning is taking place. Every improvement in understanding requires replacing an older understanding. Every insight requires letting go of something incomplete. The people who grow the fastest are rarely the people who are right all the time. They are the people who can update their thinking quickly. They do not build their identity around always being correct. They build their identity around learning. Because of that, they can adjust when reality gives them new information instead of spending years defending outdated conclusions. Confirmation bias feels like common sense. Once people adopt a belief, the brain naturally starts searching for evidence that supports it. This tendency affects nearly everyone. People notice information that agrees with what they already think while paying less attention to information that challenges it. The dangerous part is that this process feels completely reasonable. People continue finding examples that support their beliefs and interpret those examples as proof that they are being objective. What they often fail to notice is how much contradictory evidence they ignore. Over time, familiar ideas become stronger simply because they are repeated. Familiarity starts feeling like truth. Repetition starts feeling like proof. Eventually, people stop questioning beliefs not because those beliefs have been tested thoroughly, but because those beliefs have become comfortable. The need to be right damages relationships. Many arguments are not really about facts, they are about identity, pride, and self-protection. Two people can look at the same situation and immediately become focused on proving themselves correct rather than understanding each other. The conversation stops being about learning and starts becoming about winning. The problem is that relationships rarely benefit from that mindset. Genuine connection requires curiosity. It requires flexibility. It requires listening. When the need to be right becomes stronger than the desire to understand, communication starts breaking down. People stop hearing each other because they are busy defending themselves. Ironically, they often damage relationships while trying to protect their ego. They win arguments but lose trust. They prove points but create distance. Truth matters more than ego. One of the strongest signs of maturity is becoming less attached to always being right. Mature people understand that beliefs are tools, not identities. Ideas can evolve. Perspectives can change. Understanding can improve. They recognize that growth requires flexibility and that learning requires humility. The truth is that everyone will be wrong about something. Everyone will misunderstand situations. Everyone will make decisions based on incomplete information. That is not the problem. The problem is allowing the fear of being wrong to become stronger than the desire to learn. People who spend their lives protecting their ego often become trapped inside outdated beliefs because admitting mistakes feels too threatening. The people who continue growing understand something different. They understand that being wrong is not the opposite of wisdom. It is often the path to it. The purpose of learning was never to prove that you already had the answer. The purpose of learning is becoming willing to replace an old answer with a better one when reality gives you the opportunity. Because growth begins the moment truth becomes more important than protecting the ego. Thank you for watching. This is MindStickz.